we don't have to cling on to words, and at the same time, we don't have to avoid them. I've spent a lot of time and energy responding or like reacting to certain words in a really fearful kind of way. And it actually got to a point where I would go and tell people, like, don't use that word with me, kind of thing. And, there's a difference between being mindful of words out of like consideration for where another person is at. There's a difference energetically between that and the energetic of, I want to avoid that word, and I'm, whether I realize it or not, kind of trying to control what words come up in my space, if that makes sense. And I found that I was really drained at just avoiding or trying to avoid people saying certain words, especially in like, um, it could be a political context, but especially in like a religious context. Like even the word religion would give me funny feelings. And when I started to look at and pay attention to the energy behind the words, I started to notice a difference between how I would react to a certain word. So, like, for example, we could take the word religion. That's a word that for some people can be really triggering, and for some people, it could be very neutral. And for me, the word religion had, my mind would link it to religious dogma, memories of times where other people or institutions would use like religion to try and control other people, like telling them what they could or could not believe or what they could or could not practice. And when you're tapping into that sort of energy, when you hear the word religion, that's very, very different from like the it's very different from the original essence energy behind the word religion, as an example. And when I tap into that, it's very light. It's an open energy. It's not constricted. Like when I would kind of go to those like kind of fearful memory kind of spaces, some of those memories may not even be mine. um, and that's okay. But what I'm finding is whenever I hear a word and I have some sort of reaction, especially if it's really like intense or like polarized, I've noticed like see what the original kind of essence of the word might be, like what that energy behind it might be. Because what sometimes has been happening is like whatever uh other energy that's like attached to that word, so to speak, sometimes it can cover up the original essence of that word. And it's kind of like having a blanket over your face and you don't even realize it. So, and when I go into the original essence behind, like I said, the words, a lot of times it's neutral. Sometimes it's actually really like open and loving. And that's really important, when we start to notice the energy that we're picking up on that's being attached to a word. And when we start to see and feel the original essence energy that was behind a word instead, then we don't really need to avoid words. And then we also don't need to cling on to them as much either. Like clinging on to concepts having to be a specific way. Yeah, it's really fascinating. That's all I had to share today. My name's Orlia, and thanks for listening.